PR Connections Radio presents.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Vegas Hockey Hub here on PRConnectionsRadio.com, the voice of new media. I'm your host, Ian Rakelli. And on tonight's episode of Vegas Hockey Hub, we are going to be discussing the injuries that have been affecting the Vegas Golden Knights. Because there has definitely been a lot of concern regarding the Vegas Golden Knights and what is going on right now. So this is going to be sort of a shorter video of sorts, but essentially what we're going to be talking about is kind of breaking down the injuries here real quick. Just wanted to discuss it. Now, the first person that we have to go and talk about is Adin Hill. Adin Hill, being the goaltender, lower body injury is what he has suffered. And with Adin Hill, he is going to be gone for a little bit. But when it comes to the current situation, Logan Thompson being the starting goalie, you've got Patera as the backup goalie as for now. But there really is no timeline for when Adin Hill is going to be back. For anybody who doesn't know, with the Adin Hill situation, he has been out for a while now, considering all that we know. So based off of the recent games that we have seen with the Vegas Golden Knights, I mean, just to really kind of put it in perspective, I mean, the last two games, you've had, Logan Thompson. He's had some good back and forth situation there. The last game that Adin Hill played was a little bit ago in Vancouver. So hopefully it's a situation where Adin Hill, you can come back in a week, maybe 2 weeks from now, and see if he does come back. But the worst case scenario for Vegas would be a long-term situation. Like, that would be probably something that no Golden Knights fan would want to see. No situation that anyone in management or front office would want to hear is that Adin Hill would be out for a long period of time. Because like I said, Logan Thompson is doing a really stand-up job. I mean, considering what he has done the last couple of games, I mean, he has been excellent in net the last couple of weeks. But what I like about Patera is he's an AHL goalie. He's going to come in. He's going to make the occasional start. We don't know when his next game will be. I'm not going to speculate on that. But with Logan Thompson, him being an all-star last year, there is a good chance that he is going to take a good portion of the starts for the next couple of weeks until Adin Hill comes back. And when it comes to Adin Hill himself, there is some stuff that we definitely could mention on that side, because you have to reflect and kind of actually go back real quick and talk about what Adin Hill did to begin the year. Because Adin Hill, to begin the year, was rock solid. He was one of the best players that the Vegas Golden Knights had all year long. In fact, he was one of the MVPs of the first 20 games of the season for Vegas. And with Adin Hill, it's going to be a situation where he played about a dozen games. He started about a dozen games, and he had won 10 games for the Vegas Golden Knights. So for someone like Adin Hill, they definitely will need to have him back at some point. Like I said, the last game that he played was a while ago. That was in the end of November with Vancouver. It was a win, and they actually did pretty well in that situation. But with Adin Hill, you really have to sit there and really analyze and go, are the Vegas Golden Knights going to try to bring him back a little bit early? Are the Vegas Golden Knights going to be conservative and hold him off for a little bit? Because depending on how Patera does, regardless of how Logan Thompson does, that's going to kind of vary on how long Adin Hill is going to be out. Because the Vegas Golden Knights are just full steam ahead doing what they've done forever, and that is, just win, win, win. Then there isn't going to be a huge, there's not going to be a big, hurry to get Adin Hill back for the Vegas Golden Knights. But if there is a situation where the Vegas Golden Knights are starting to struggle for a little bit, then they are absolutely going to be trying to bring him back as soon as possible. Now, the latest update that we had on Adin Hill and the most recent situation that we saw with him, now, a couple of days ago, it was reported that, yes, he did have that lower body injury, and that, yes, he was going to be put on the healthy scratch. In fact, he's not even on IR. He's a healthy scratch for the Vegas Golden Knights. We did hear that report recently about Henderson, about Patera being called up from Henderson. And like I said, he's definitely done pretty well in his limited starts he has had in Vegas throughout his career. So for Adin Hill, for a guy who went 10-2 for Vegas to begin the year, a 1.87 goals against average and a 93.5 save percentage, he has done phenomenal. In fact, he is actually one of the league leaders in goals against average and save percentage before he got hurt. So for the Vegas Golden Knights, Adin Hill is definitely a question mark we have to talk about. And really the main question that I have to propose is, what will Vegas do in terms of how quick and how hesitant are they going to be to bring Adin Hill back? To me, it just varies on what record Vegas is at that point. Let's just say end of December, they go past pretty much the whole month of December, and you are getting towards the Winter Classic. If Adin Hill is good to go, if he is 100%, then you bring him back, no questions asked. But if you also have to stop and analyze it for a minute, if you are the Vegas Golden Knights and he still is rehabbing, he's still preparing, and he's not 100% yet, and your record is among the best in all of hockey, you still have the best record, second best record of hockey, you're not going to bring him back just to get injured again. Vegas is going to learn from what they did last year, because last year they tried to bring back one of their goalies way too soon, and he got hurt not even a month after coming back. So for Vegas, with Adin Hill, he's still listed as day-to-day with a lower body injury, and it's just going to be an interesting situation to see how Vegas does in net for the rest of December, for example, without Adin Hill. The next player on the injury list that we do need to discuss is somebody who is on IR. He had a lower body injury, and that is Alec Martinez. Now, to bring it back to what happened, Alec Martinez on November 22nd suffered a lower body injury. He was listed as day-to-day, and then about a week later, he was put on IR by the Vegas Golden Knights. And for Alec Martinez, it definitely is a crushing blow for Vegas, because you have to stop and analyze it for a minute. He was doing pretty well in November before getting hurt. He was injured in the Pittsburgh game. That was the last game he played, was during the road trip against Pittsburgh. And leading up to that point, he actually had 2 goals, 2 points, about +2 if I vaguely recall, but he had done a lot of shot blocking. And I was actually a little bit concerned about this heading in, but for Alec Martinez, with all the shots that he blocks every single year, I wondered if that was going to keep on going, if he was going to be able to handle it. But yeah, for Alec Martinez, this is definitely an interesting scenario where the Vegas Golden Knights really have to stop and ask. He suffers this injury. He is now on IR, and this was a couple of days ago. He is on IR. So if you're Vegas, you have Braden Bahal, you have Kaden Korczak, you have these young defensemen in the wings, you have your top prospect of Lucas Cormier out there in Henderson. Do you do the same with Adin Hill as you do with Alec Martinez? Do you not rush them back because of the players you have around them? Like, if the Vegas Golden Knights had a problem with defensemen, where if they were, very lacking when it came to depth, I would say the Vegas Golden Knights would definitely try to rush them back. But for the Vegas Golden Knights, the fact that you do have all these young defensemen, it tells me that the Vegas Golden Knights are not going to rush back Hill. They're not going to rush back Martinez. Because if you rush them back and they get hurt once again, then you essentially have put yourself back, back behind the 8 ball once again. Alec Martinez, he played 14 games this year before getting injured, and a lot of people don't remember. Alec Martinez was out for the first 4 games of the year. So Alec Martinez missed the original opening of the year. Then he played 14 games straight before getting hurt against Pittsburgh. So for Alec Martinez, this is a situation where you can really stop and analyze it and say that until he is ready to come back, until he's 100% ready to go, the Vegas Golden Knights should be okay. Now, the one aspect that Alec Martinez is going to have that most people will not pay attention to, except here on this show, he is an unrestricted free agent next year. That is definitely going to factor in to how Alec Martinez deals with the rehabbing, with injury, with everything that's going on. Because when you're a free agent next year and when you're a veteran like Alec Martinez, there is no guarantee that he's coming back to Vegas next year. No guarantee that he's going to get a long-term deal. No guarantee he's going to get another $5 million in the bank. You have no guarantee, especially after getting injured twice in one season, that you are going to get a big offer next offseason. And especially since he's been in Vegas for the last couple of years, there's no guarantee that he will be back in Vegas next year. So unlike Adin Hill, who signed an extension this past offseason, his future is secure. Alec Martinez is not. And that's one aspect that somebody could definitely point out, that Alec Martinez is going to want to get back here as soon as possible because he is going to want to play for this team and show what his value is for the next offseason. Now, there are 2 other injuries we have to discuss here on the show. And the first one that we have to talk about as well is Shea Theodore. So Shea Theodore is a very interesting situation because he suffered an upper body injury against Dallas, okay? Now, this was, like I said, very recent in the grand scheme of things, but against Dallas, he suffered an upper body injury, and he has been out ever since. He has not been back since Dallas, so pretty much a game after Alec Martinez, and he was out against Pittsburgh. Shea Theodore goes out the next game against Dallas. And this is actually very crucial because of how well he plays on offense. I want no one to forget what Shea Theodore was doing before he got hurt. Shea had 4 goals, 14 points, and a +2 for the Vegas Golden Knights. I also want everyone to stop for a second and really analyze. Shea Theodore has been one of the staples of the Vegas Golden Knights. He has been somebody that has been a rock. He has been someone who the Vegas Golden Knights can rely on day in and day out. So to lose a guy like Shea Theodore, to break up Brayden McNabb and Shea Theodore, who had been lines mates for years, just like Pietrangelo and Martinez on the first line, all it tells me is that the Vegas Golden Knights are without 2 of their best defensemen. The only positive is that Braden Bahal is getting opportunities now. Ben Hutton is getting opportunities now. Nick Hague is going to be on the first line. He's going to be helping out with Alex Pietrangelo. Only positive I can say there is that you have some defensemen who are getting some good opportunities now because of the injuries that are happening with the Vegas Golden Knights. So, as we're talking about the injuries here on the Vegas Golden Knights, talking about them on Vegas Hockey Hub. So, yeah, Alec Martinez, he is on IR. He is going to be out for a while with a lower body injury. Shea Theodore, he is on long-term IR. And Adin Hill is on IR with day-to-day. The 2 minor injuries that we could discuss, I guess, there is the fact that the Vegas Golden Knights, you do have Daniil Miromanov. He has been on IR since the season kicked off. And then you also have Robin Lehner, who has been on IR for the entire season. After all, he has not played for Vegas in almost 2 years now, but he is still on the list, and he's somebody that you definitely have to mention, at least include in that conversation if you're discussing injuries with the Vegas Golden Knights. So if you're Vegas, where do you go from here? Because with Vegas, and I'm just going to use their most recent game as an example, we saw a Vegas Golden Knights team who was just battling, right? And they're battling and battling and battling. And this has been a team that lately, and I'm just going to say lately, they have won, they've won a few games. They've had some good back and forth matchups. Yes, they unfortunately lost to St. Louis, which was a bummer. But with the Vegas Golden Knights, one aspect I can say about them in a positive way is when you look at what there's been some good back and forth that you can say on that. I mean, there's definitely some good, interesting content that you could say when it comes to Vegas and how they have performed lately. Because you have a Golden Knights team that has Jack Eichel, who has been one of the most elite shooters in hockey and has been the elite scorer for Vegas. They're going to have to rely on him much more. You also have a forward lines that have been relatively the same. They're not really changing as much as they have in the past. And I kind of like that in a way. I can kind of respect that when it comes to Vegas. This is an organization that hasn't switched as much as they should, as they've done in the past. So this is a Vegas Golden Knights team that, line one, you have Ivan Barbashev, Jack Eichel, and Mark Stone. For the most part, that's been your first line all year. Ivan Barbashev has done well enough over the last couple of games. In fact, he has averaged around a point per game in his recent 7 games with Vegas. Jack Eichel has been lighting up the lamp. He has done extensively well. Mark Stone, being the captain of the team, he has been a leader in the locker room. He has been someone who has definitely been making a positive contribution to the Vegas Golden Knights. Line 2, you have, for the most part this year, Jonathan Marchessault, William Karlsson, and Paul Cotter. Now, I do know that Mark Stone and Jonathan Marchessault, they have been flipping off and on the first and second line. To begin the year, it was Marchessault, Eichel, and Barbashev. And then lately, Stone's been on the first line with Barbashev and Eichel. And then I know Marchessault and Karlsson and Cotter have spent some time together on the second line. Now, obviously, Cotter is not Riley Smith, as much as I'd like for him to be. He's not Riley Smith yet. But the fact that you have William Karlsson and Jonathan Marchessault, they have played some games together this year. You kind of have a little bit of the misfit line still together. That is a good moment for Vegas. The bottom 6 has kind of stayed around the same, but not really. So you've had like Brett Howden, Chandler Stevenson, Michael Amadio, of course, Pavel Dorofeev. He has been there for a little bit. But I also kind of like how when it comes to this line, you have William Karlsson. They've had him there. You've had some combinations like Chandler Stevenson, Mark Stone, Michael Amadio. They've also had Brett Howden, Mark Stone, Chandler Stevenson. Like the middle 6 for Vegas has kind of like a rotating belt for Vegas. But just based off of the recent games that we have seen, Michael Amadio, Brett Howden, and Chandler Stevenson have done relatively well on the middle 6. They've done a stand-up job. So for Vegas to have Howden, Stevenson, and Amadio as your middle 6 forwards, that's been excellently well. And the fourth line, the bottom line, the fourth line, they've pretty much been a constant for 4 years now. You have William Carrier, Nick Waugh, Keaton Kolesar. Occasionally Carrier will be bumped to like the third line. There was one time earlier in the year he was on the second line due to the amount of injuries Vegas had. But for the most part, Carrier is your fourth line left winger. Kolesar is your fourth line right winger. And then Nick Waugh as your center out there in the middle. Now, the defensive pairings, and I have mentioned this before. So Hutton and Pietrangelo, they have been together for a little bit since Martinez has been hurt. They've also kind of flipped it as well. They've had Nick Hague up there before, and Hutton would be with Whitecloud. But I'm going to say moving forward, Ben Hutton has done a really good job since Martinez and Theodore have been out. Ben Hutton actually has gelled really well with Alex Pietrangelo. Just like Brayden McNabb has gelled really well with Caden Korczak in limited action. So for the Vegas Golden Knights, I would not be shocked if moving forward, you had a situation where you have Brayden McNabb, Caden Korczak, they're going to stay together probably. But Ben Hutton and Alex Pietrangelo could be a good 1-2 combination there. And then your defensive pairing of Haig and Whitecloud, they're supposed to be your defensive pairing to begin with to begin the year. So why not keep them together? And when it comes to goaltending, you have Thompson and you have Batara. And it's going to be an interesting combination because you have two guys in their mid-20s who have both worked their butts off to get to where they need to be. And right now, you have Thompson and Batara, and they are both trying to fight and trying to prove they belong. Batara, like I said, his most recent start that he had for Vegas, he picked up a win in his most recent start. He has actually done relatively well in the AHL. So him getting his shot as a backup goalie, once again, not going to speculate when he's going to play again, when he's going to be a starting goalie, when he's going to be in net. But Logan Thompson, ever since Hill's gotten hurt, has taken most of the reps for Vegas. So as we have about 8 minutes left here for Vegas Hockey Hub, I'm your host, Ian Rickelli. And even going back to the game before, because, yeah, I know St. Louis, you have a back-to-back situation, definitely interesting to see there. But even the Washington game, if we go back just a little bit, even to the Washington game, the Vegas Golden Knights gelled relatively well against Washington. Like, there was a noticeable, kind of situation there. Because you saw with the Washington game, all the lines stayed pretty much the same as what I've been talking about. You had Barbashev, Eichel, and Stone, Cotter, Carlson, Marchessault, Howden, Stevenson, and Matteo. Like, you had that kind of situation as well. But what I liked about Vegas, and what I liked about, and I saw in that series, was their ability to crash the net. I liked how Vegas was able to really take a situation and turn it on itself. I kind of appreciate that. I also will say that with Vegas, with your Vegas Golden Knights, it is a situation where I can really counter and say that Vegas has definitely taken advantage of having some good nights for Vegas. Jonathan Marchessault, he had a 2-goal night against Washington. St. Louis, Jack Eichel had a goal that really mattered the most. It got them into that overtime situation at that point. And then even the Vancouver game that happened a while ago. Jack Eichel had a 3-point night. Pietrangelo had 2 apples on the game. He also had a situation where, the middle six was contributing with Carlson and Howden. Like, the Vegas Golden Knights have done exceptionally well at getting the puck in the back of the net. And their upcoming matchups are going to be fascinating because you're going to be taking on a lot of Western Conference teams, right? You're going to be going up against teams that are definitely going to be competing against you. And, I will say for Vegas, this is going to be a situation where I see them as really trying to build that roster up until the middle half of the year, until we get to about the halfway point. Because it is a 82-game season, so 41 games would be the halfway point. And we are a little under 30 games on the year. So I will say for Vegas, this is definitely a matchup that a lot of people are going to be talking about. And to really kind of back that up and really kind of conclude on that, I will say for Vegas, like I said, they've been a little bit over 25 games at this point. You have about a little over a dozen games before you get to the halfway point. And I know in December they're going to do their East Coast swing. I understand that. They're going to have like a 5-game stretch where they're going to go up against the Eastern Conference back to back to back to back to back. But they also are going to have that Winter Classic on January 1st. So there's a lot of good matchups coming ahead when it comes to Vegas. And I will also point out that this is going to be a Vegas Golden Knights team that's going to play a few games at home. They're going to have about a 4-game stretch at home. Then they're going to have a 4-game stretch on the road, and then a 4-game stretch at home. Like, I kind of like the balance there, where you're going to have, 4-4-4 in the next 12 games. 4 games on the road, 8 games at home for the Vegas Golden Knights. And I will mention to everyone watching all around the world that when it comes to your Vegas Golden Knights, I definitely am looking forward to seeing how they look once Hill comes back. I am looking forward to seeing how your Vegas Golden Knights look once Shea Theodore comes back. And I definitely want to see how well this team looks when you have your defensive pairings back with Martinez and Pietrangelo, McNabb and Theodore, and Haig and Whitecloud. That's going to be a fantastic situation to watch. I definitely am excited and looking forward to it. And there's a lot of fun that we could talk about with Vegas. I mean, we definitely have gotten past the rough stretch that Vegas had a while ago. When Vegas lost 5 out of 6 at the end of November, a lot of people were panicking. And I kind of love how Vegas has kind of turned that around, and they were winning those recent games that they have had. So for Vegas, of course, there's going to be an occasional loss, obviously, but I love that your Vegas Golden Knights took that end of November that was just atrocious, and they've turned it around and have made it into a good situation heading into all of December and in start of January. So I'm your host, Ian Rickelli. This is Vegas Hockey Hub here on PRConnectionsRadio.com, the voice of new media. I mean, 260 episodes, just wow. I mean, what a crazy situation there. Obviously going to post more and more content as time goes on. But yeah, the fact that we have been doing this for over a year now has been crazy. Season 2 of Vegas Hockey Hub. And I will say to everybody watching, I appreciate the support. Share it, like and share to all your friends all around the world. And until next time, I'm your host, Ian Rickelli. This is Vegas Hockey Hub, and have a good one.